Bulls fans, we see why now. We see why DeMar DeRozan must be re-signed. We see why now Coby White and also Dosunmu must have the basketball in their hands. And we also see exactly why Billy Donovan must trust and play the younger players off the bench. I'm going to be talking about the huge win that we had against the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in situation, what this possibly could mean for our offseason, and what this is going to mean as the Bulls try to push forward to secure a spot in the NBA playoffs this year. So this is Rico Greenhowe. This is your host of Bulls Digest. And before we jump into it, guys, wanted to let you know that 84.7% of you guys that watch the videos are not subscribed to the videos. Make sure that you go ahead and you press that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest news and happenings with your Chicago Bulls. And without further ado, let's jump into it, guys. And that is Chicago has advanced against the Atlanta Hawks here. So a huge win against them in this play-in tournament. I think just to start off, just to give you a little background, with the Atlanta Hawks, I think Trae Young was pretty much 3-0, I think, in play-in situations. So he had played pretty fabulous. This Atlanta Hawks team had come into this game limping a bit, to say the least. There were several injuries, mainly to a lot of their height. When you look at the fact that they didn't have their center, Okongwu, they also didn't have Jalen Johnson as well. So the Hawks were a bit shorthanded. And then with Trae Young, he really wasn't his self really out there. And the one thing that I will say about this is that Trae Young, in his matchups against us this year, he was averaging 20 points and 13 assists, but he was only shooting 29%. And I believe Alex Caruso has been a nightmare for him on the defensive end. So much more of that really occurred in tonight's game as the Chicago Bulls pretty much went out there and handled business. Even though they gave us a little bit of a scare, they looked like they were going to go ahead and give Atlanta the game here. There was one point where we were up 16 to 18 points, and we essentially gave that lead away. But mainly that came down to the fact that DeMar DeRozan had actually sat out on the bench. And so that kind of leads to the first point that I want to point to as we bring up the box score, is that DeMar DeRozan led us in minutes, and the minutes that he did not play, then that's where Atlanta went on the run. At the moment that DeMar DeRozan entered back onto the floor, this is where it seemed to calm us. We seemed to be a lot better offensively and defensively as well. And I know for a lot of the people out there that have pushed back on DeMar DeRozan and this whole re-signing thing, I've been an advocate of we're having to bring this guy back simply because of the leadership qualities that he brings. He's very unselfish, and he's a guy that goes out there and gets baskets when we truly need it, and he knows how to defer. And you're going to see that in tonight's box score. So let me go ahead and throw that up here, guys. And so in talking about DeMar DeRozan, look, the 44 minutes, which I'm talking about, but look at the efficiency. He was 10 of 19 from the field, and this was pretty good for him too as well. He was 1 of 2 from the three-point land. One of those shots actually had his foot on the line, so he really probably had 2 3-pointers today, but nevertheless, he was solid there. But look at what he was able to do as far as the assist totals, guys. He gave us 9 assists. He gave us 6 rebounds as well. He was plus 27 in the box score for 22 points. And what I'm talking about here is that really the player of the game for us was Coby White. Okay, Coby White was simply phenomenal. 42 points today, 3 of 7 from the three-point land, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. He also went out there and got us 6 assists. He had 9 rebounds as well, plus 6 in the box score. But what I love about this is that DeMar DeRozan, and this is why you love him, being the superstar that he is, being on course for the Hall of Fame, which I think a lot of people will agree with, he is willing to go ahead and defer, guys. There were so many plays that he made for Coby White just by simply moving the basketball. And this is what I love about DeMar DeRozan. Like, he made everybody better tonight, including Vucevic. Okay, so I know we really dig into Vucevic, but the way DeMar DeRozan swung the ball off the pick and roll today, and the aggression that Vucevic played with today, which is what we want to see every game, But because of DeMar DeRozan, because he was aggressive and because he was willing to get guys the basketball and defer and let them cook today, this is why the Chicago Bulls play well in these moments, and this is why we love them, right? Look at the 131 as far as the point totals, and this is the kind of high-paced basketball that we're looking for, and this is, I think, what we've been missing since Lonzo's went down. And so we got a little taste of that, guys. And, just a fun fact to throw out there as well is that our offensive efficiency and our pace of play really took a hit. And I think mainly that was because Lonzo went down. But over the last couple games, or actually the last month of the season, since we signed, I believe, Javonte Green, we've actually been top 10. So just to let you guys know, we played at a little bit faster pace. And speaking of Javonte Green, he was huge for us tonight because Alex Caruso went down with an injury, and it looked pretty bad, okay, because Drummond, a guy who I thought was not going to play today, and shout out to him. I thought he was amazing, high-energy player, really got the crowd involved. I know it's not a huge stat line for him, but 3 blocks today, went out there, got us some rebounds, only 4 today, but the fact that he was an enforcer inside in the middle, this was huge. And I think that this essentially kind of took everything away from Atlanta because they just could not score inside. But, the fact of the matter, he was brilliant today, but Javonte Green was fabulous in place of Alex Caruso after Drummond had stepped on his ankle there. And so looking at what Javonte Green did today, 23 minutes today, 4 of 7 from the field. I love the fact that he's shooting the three-pointer a lot better. I talked about that before, guys, when he initially got signed. But this is why we love Javonte Green, and this is why I think he should be back as well. He does exactly what Alex Caruso does. He's like an Alex Caruso 2.0. Look, he had the 6 rebounds. He has the 4 assists. He had a steal. All over the stat sheet. Like, his fingerprints were all over the game, and this is what we needed off the bench. Talking about the younger players, look at this, guys. Dalen Terry has 4 points. He was plus 21, but the key here is he had 5 rebounds, and he got up 8 field goal attempts. And look at this. He played more than Torrey Craig. This was huge for us, okay, because we've been talking about why we want Billy Donovan to play the younger players. This is exactly why you have to play the younger players. Dalen Terry, even though he didn't score a lot of points today, his defense was on par today. I thought he was terrific in hitting the rebounds. He was terrific in starting the break. And this guy literally has been sitting on our bench, just sitting there. All right, so you have got to play the younger guys here. I'm just looking for Billy Donovan to eventually start to play Sanogo. Hopefully he starts to play him. And obviously once Julian Phillips comes back, but he's not scheduled to be back probably this year. But this is what we want to see out of Billy Donovan. We want to see him start to play the youth. And then also too, speaking of another guy in the backcourt, Dosunmu was terrific tonight. Okay, look at the efficiency. Here's another guy that was questionable with a right thigh bruise. 8 of 12 from the field. I love the fact that his three-point shot has gotten so much better, only missing 1 today, 3 of 4 here. But look at the plus 9 in the box score, 19 big points. Look at what he was able to do on the defensive end with the 2 blocks. He had a huge block against DeAndre Hunter, which just simply sent the crowd bonkers out there. Didn't have a whole bunch of assists tonight, but I thought he was really aggressive tonight, and I thought that was huge for us because we really didn't know what we were going to get from Dosunmu. And I think Billy Donovan had talked about the fact that he was unsure with his conditioning and the physicality really in this playing situation, how he was going to do. He really answered to Bell today. And one more shout out once again to Vucevic with the 24 points today and the 12 rebounds. I got to give it to him. In a down year, I know we've been, really taking it to him. He was 1 of 6 from downtown. We obviously know his three-point shot's been slipping, but he showed up tonight. Looking at this box score on the other end, if you're looking at this thing, Looking at, Trae Young, I mean, he really struggled, guys. He was minus 27 in the box score, even though he had 22 points and the 10 assists. But, essentially he had a lot of their turnovers when you look at this thing. So we frustrated him a lot. We did a great job in taking out the 3-point percentages here. So I think for the first time in quite some time, usually when a team hits 11 or more three-pointers, they generally win against us. But even though Atlanta shot and hit 11 three-pointers, we were still able to get the win. Again, I think we just did a solid job defensively and really taking away what their main scores were. And I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, DeJounte Murray was really, kind of taking it to us. And he was, but DeJounte Murray, for the most part, did a lot of his damage from inside the three-point line, even though he hit three-pointers, but a lot of his damage really came in the first half as well. So, I just think that this is a really a great sign for Chicago, really, because moving forward into the offseason, I think what this shows us is that the fact that Zach Lavine is not on the floor and the Chicago Bulls can play well, I think that this is showing you that they can definitely move Zach Lavine in the offseason, and I think they're going to be okay. All right. I think that what you saw tonight is probably what makes maybe the Eastern Conference or other Eastern Conference teams a bit scary of the Chicago Bulls if we figure it out. Because I think that the Chicago Bulls perhaps have probably one of the best younger backcourts that is coming. And we have these guys on some team-friendly contracts, all right? I think we have one of the best closers in the game, and I think you're going to get that justification once DeMar DeRozan wins the Clutch Player Award, right? Not saying that he needed it anyway, but this guy's a winner, and I think that this is a guy that we have to get back. Now, he wants to be with us, and I'm willing to think that, guys, there is a way that we can somehow work it out to where this can be a team-friendly deal. I just think that DeMar DeRozan really is committed to the Chicago Bulls, and I think that if the Bulls are going to show the same amount of love that they showed to Billy Donovan in committing to him, I think that they are going to commit to DeMar DeRozan as well. The question marks for us is going to be Drummond. Drummond has clearly outplayed his contract. I love Andre Drummond. I know that he is definitely a fan favorite at this point in time. And I'm hoping that we bring him back. But if we don't bring him back, guys, I know it's a small sample size. I know it's against the Wizards. I saw that. But I feel like we have got to go with Sunoco, right? And I think Sunoco has showed us that he can do it in the G League. He's also showed us that he can do it in NBA games as well. He's done it in the Summer League. And I think that Billy Donovan, perhaps he had to roll the dice a little bit. He didn't play Torrey Craig tonight. He didn't play Javon Carter, and we won. And Dalen Terry responded well. So maybe this is the spark that Billy Donovan needs to see to say, hey, you can trust the bench. It's okay to trust the younger guys and play these guys. We're going to have to play these guys no matter what. And I will say this. We move on from Lavine. Hopefully we can get some young pieces to build around the pieces that we currently have. And we've got to figure out what we want to do, obviously, with Patrick Williams. And I have to say this. If we're going to bring Patrick Williams back, at this point in time, he has to be thinking to himself, if Coby White can do what he did after sitting back, being taken the 7th pick in the draft and watching his other draft mates like Ja Morant and everybody else take off, and then Coby White slowly develop like this, he has no excuses when he gets back, especially if Lavine is not there. He's going to get his touches, and he's going to be able to play in good positions as well. So I don't want to hear that he's playing out of position and stuff like that. He's going to get a chance to play a whole bunch of stuff if he comes back without Lavine on the roster. So I think that the Bulls are getting a little bit more of a clearer picture, and every time they win a game, I think that this should be something that management should take a look at and say, okay, this is how we have to construct this roster. Even Mike Wilbon said this, if you were watching the ESPN telecast, that this is what a lot of GMs are saying. Like, this is why you don't tear up the roster, because they look really good. And then you turn around and they give up an 18-point lead. And then you're like, oh, okay, now I see why they want to do something different. So the Bulls have got to stay on this consistent tear. Now, moving forward, they're going against a Miami Heat team that it looks like Jimmy Butler's taken quite a significant injury. All right. And they're reporting that it could be an MCL at this point in time. And he's after the game, he's saying it hurts extremely bad. And, he doesn't want to speculate and he doesn't want to jinx it. The one thing I will say this about the Chicago Bulls is that there's a path for the Chicago Bulls to get into the playoffs. And I think it's going to be a successful season if they're able to take 2 games against the Boston Celtics, counting that they get past the Miami Heat. But teams are banged up, and I feel like if Chicago can get you into the fourth quarter, they're one of the best clutch teams in the NBA, they actually have a punching chance to possibly go out there and take a couple games from the Celtics. It would be phenomenal. And I'm just saying phenomenal, because it's a far stretch if they were able to move past a team like Boston, which that would be a tall order. But if they take 2 games, I'm going to be more than happy with that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments with this. Do you feel like Billy Donovan has perhaps turned a page now that he's playing our younger players more than the experienced players like Torrey Craig? Do you agree with the fact that the Bulls management is getting a clearer direction as to what they're going to do in the offseason as this team continues to advance in this play-in and playoffs potentially? And do you guys think that if we do get into the playoffs, we could give Boston a scare? So let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is Rico Greenhowe, Bulls Digest. And as usual, baby, go Bulls. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.